How do I put this? Squid Game is probably the best show I've ever watched that doesn't do anything new. You know what I mean? Like, the show is heavily inspired by this anime called Kaiji Ultimate Survivor, and the concept doesn't feel dramatically different from Hunger Games or Battle Royale. Even the drama itself is really quite predictable. The protagonist is a compulsive gambler desperate to pay off his loans. The quote-unquote villain is a brutish thug who'll do anything to survive. And the steely-eyed cop is searching for his long-lost brother who's mysteriously connected to the games in the show. I could go on, but I think you get it, right? Squid Game isn't going to win any awards for path-breaking originality. But it kind of doesn't have to. Because the core of the story, the characters, the scenarios, the simmering undercurrent of tension that threatens to boil over at any moment, they mix together flawlessly, creating this carefully orchestrated chaos that ratchets up the tension and elevates the stakes to astronomical heights. And it's what sets the stage for one of the best episodes in television I've seen in a very, very long time. Quick disclaimer, I'm probably gonna butcher some of the characters' names, so sorry in advance. Episode 6 of Squid Game is kind of a turning point in the show because it completely upends the games they've been playing so far in the most cruel way possible. Way back when the players return from the second game, the meal they're given is a measly boiled egg and a soda. Jung Deok-soo and his crew break the queue and take food meant for other players. And when confronted, he straight up kills the guy in a fit of rage. Rather than punishing him for it, the organizers basically reward his actions by doing nothing and dropping more prize money in the piggy bank. This is a calculated move by the organizers, who have just seeded a very dangerous idea in the players' minds. The more players you kill, the more your competition is eliminated, and the more the prize pool grows. At this point, one thing quickly becomes clear. Forming a team is essential for survival. Seong Gi-hun and his, well, I wouldn't call them friends, but they're the only ones he's spoken to at this point. These are the only people he can work with. If for no other reason than it's in everyone's best interest to stay in a group. And that strategy really pays off. Gi-hun and his gang not only survive the bloodbath that follows that night, but they somehow just about scrape through the next game. Thanks to the old man's strategy and Cho Sang-woo's quick thinking that saved their lives literal inches from the brink of death. At this point, they're no longer a group that's staying together purely out of pragmatism and convenience. They're a solid team, having developed this uneasy bond where they can actually sort of trust each other. Ali, bless his heart, develops an admiration and respect for Sang-woo, and Gi-hun becomes rather attached to Il-nam and Se-byok. For once in this entire terrible ordeal, there's a sense of warmth, of belonging. And then, episode 6 happens. The fourth game is another team game, but this time with only 2 players per team. Gi-hun and his group are feeling pretty good. They've all survived so far, right? They work well together. In fact, everything up to this point has reinforced the idea that forming a strong team is the key to success. It's only when they enter the game arena that they hear what the rules are. 2 teammates enter the arena, but only one leaves. In one fell swoop, the organizers have completely shattered everything the players thought they knew about the game. When the players thought they had found a strategy to beat the game, they were in fact playing right into it. Through a carefully orchestrated set of actions, the organizers had set up and sprung the most devious trap for the players. These people, who'd only a short while ago formed friendships, whether strategic or emotional, had suddenly been set up on each other like they were no different from any of the others. Like the bodies of the soldiers and the doctor they saw in the stairwell, it was a sickening reminder that this was a place of equals, where any advantage you thought you had would be stamped out without feeling or remorse. But the worst part was yet to come. You see, when you're driven to the very edge, when you're cornered and have nowhere else to go, any ideas of morality or scruples go straight out the window. In the first 2 games, it was every man for himself. If you lost, it was because you moved during red light, green light, or because you broke the shape in the Dalgona candy. But the third game was when the actions of one group of players directly resulted in the deaths of players in the other. They weren't just killing each other unofficially anymore. Now, killing was part of the main event. And would you blame them for doing what it took to survive? But in the fourth game, it felt different. There is no action, no intense physical exertion to distract the players. Just two people playing a game of marbles to determine who lives and who dies. And it's the first time that having a teammate you trust becomes a terrible disadvantage. Episode 6 creates a sense of claustrophobia, of unnerving closeness, by choosing mostly tense close-up shots to frame the characters as they play the most harrowing mental game of their lives. There's no bloodshed or graphic violence, but that's replaced with something arguably worse: silence. Everyone knows what they must do, but this time there's no strategy, no skill they can use to get the upper hand, instead relying on blind luck to win. The episode is also largely unscored, giving the audience nothing to distract ourselves from the sheer panic and inner turmoil of the players. As Gihan and the group are split into 3 teams, the drama unfolds in as many different ways, getting progressively harder to watch as the clock ticks down. Ilnam constantly interrupts the game to explore the fake neighborhood in the arena. Sangwoo finds himself losing to Ali, who just a little while ago didn't even know what odd and even numbers were. And there's this eerie, stifling calmness between Sei-byuk and Ji-young, who decide to spend the time talking about their lives outside the games. The fact that all 3 games play out differently avoids turning tension to monotony, and gives the episode more room to explore the natures of each character more fully. But more importantly, this is a test to see how far each of them would go to survive. These people are learning things about themselves that they really would have been better off not knowing. Gihan, who'd always believed himself to be an upstanding contestant with a moral code, finds himself in a position where he must lie and manipulate an old man suffering from dementia in order to win a game that, truthfully, he should have lost. Mere minutes after they'd locked pinky fingers and called each other Gganbu, or best friend. And the horror in his face when he realizes the old man had been aware of it the entire time. Sangwoo, about to lose the game to Ali, takes advantage of the man's trust and gullibility to dupe him, stealing his stash of marbles and replacing it with pebbles. In those last moments before the soldier pulls the trigger, as it dawns on Ali what had just taken place, the illusion is shattered in his mind. Sangwoo was never really his friend. There are no teams in this game, only winners and losers. But it's too late. Squid Game's episode 6 is a culmination of everything the show had set up to that point. Just as we got comfortable with these characters, began rooting for them and saw the potential for them to work as a team and make it out of the games together, the axe came down. Hard. The tables were turned, and good friends turned into reluctant rivals. In a sense, this was probably worse than if the games had never encouraged the players to form teams, because there would have been less for them to lose. But I guess that was the point, right? I went into Squid Game as it was reaching the peak of its hype, fully expecting a half-decent Battle Royale or Hunger Games clone, but instead got a surprisingly profound exploration of the human psyche when driven to its very limits, and the sickening things most of us would be willing to do if it means someone else gets to die instead of us. Calling people inherently selfish is somewhat disingenuous because it ignores the vast spectrum of attitudes different people display towards compassion and malice alike. There is no singular truth, no easy answer. As with everything in life, it's complicated. Squid Game is a nuanced, sobering portrait of the human survival instinct, desperation, and the unavoidable limits of social bonds. It's one of the best things I've watched this year, and I guess I'm glad I caved to the hype. Thanks so much for watching Next Level Narrative. I mostly make content about video games, but if you like this, let me know in the comments if you're interested to see some videos about movies or TV shows. As always, please do like and share this video and consider supporting me on Patreon. I put up patron exclusive articles there every now and then. This is your host, Anish Bhargav, signing out.